What's up, y'all? It's your boy Dgat. You're watching Dgat TV. On today's episode of Project Pegasus, we will be replacing the spark plugs. I decided to go with the NGK Iridium Performance Spark Plug Stage 6 that I ordered off of AmericanMuscle.com. For those of you ordering spark plugs, it's very important to pay attention to the stage level of spark plug that you're ordering. And why I say that is because they're leveled in stages from hot to cold. Each manufacturer has a different rating on how they do it. NGKs, the lower the stage number, so 1 would be a hot plug, and the higher the number, such as 9, the colder the plug. So make sure you got the right spark plug according to the setup that you have on your vehicle. So a vehicle with mid to little mods at all, you want to make sure that you stay with the hot plug, you know, like a stage 6. If you're going with NGK, that's best for you to have if you got bolt-ons and you're naturally aspirated. That means no supercharger, no turbocharger. Stage 6 or lower with NGK. If you got something like a shot of NOS, or you're running supercharger, turbocharger, which would be forced induction, you want to make sure that you have a colder plug. And the reason why, you want that plug to be able to handle all that high heat with all that extra power on there. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and glove up and jump into the video. Alright, so a few simple tools you'll need for the install. Of course, you're going to need your spark plugs, which I went with the NGK laser iridium spark plugs. You're going to need your anti-seize for the threads on the spark plugs, and then you're going to need your boot protector, which is the dielectric grease that goes around the spark plug and on the boot to avoid the boots from getting stuck when you're taking them back off. You're going to need your can't think of the word right now, but yeah, you're going to need your spark plug remover there, possibly an extension too, because it might not be long enough. Mine has a swivel at the end to make it a little bit easier. And then you're going to need your ratchet, of course, and your torque wrench to torque it to the right specs. You want to torque it, I called Ford and they said anywhere between 10 to 15 foot-pounds of torque. I'm going to just do 14 to play it safe. So now that we have that out the way, let's go ahead and get started. So the first step, you're going to want to remove this line right here so that we can get access to the fuel rail and pull that cover off. So I'm gonna just do that right there. That should be good enough. And then your fuel rail should pop right off, like so. Let me get the oil cap cover out the way as well. I want it to come off nice and smooth. Right on out the way like that. I'm gonna sit this over to the side so it doesn't get scratched up or anything. And I'm gonna do one side at a time so that none of the plugs or anything gets mixed up. And I waited until the car was actually cool before I did this. It's the best thing to do because sometimes the spark plugs get a little hot. I know that from experience. Some of you might not be able to handle the heat that spark plug is packing if you've done it, or if you're trying to change it while you just had the car running. So let it cool off a little bit. It's a whole lot easier on the engine too when you do things that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my oil cap back on to keep that protected from any dust or debris flying in there. Okay, so now that we got the fuel rail off, the next step, we're gonna have to pull off the coil packs. And once we pull off the coil packs, the ignition coils, we will have access to the spark plugs, okay? Just as I thought, it's an 8mm socket. I'm going to go ahead and remove the red tab first. Once you pull that tab out, that sucker should be able to slide right on out. Move on my red tab. Coil packs off. Now that I've got all the passenger side ignition coils loose, I'm just gonna take them out. Once I take them out, like I said, it's gonna give me access to the spark plug. Now for those of you that may have a strut tower brace bar like I do and have trouble getting around that second from the front ignition coil, I just use this swivel socket. So that's a little hack right there. If you ever find yourself in a weird angle trying to loosen a bolt, swivel socket works every time. Woo! That's what I call one old spark plug right there. It ain't too bad, but it's old. And that is the OEM spark plug right there. You can tell because it's Motorcraft Iridium. So we're, like I said, upgrading that to the NGK Iridium Performance Spark Plug Level 6. Alright, so before I install my spark plugs, I want to go ahead and just double check the gap and make sure they're gapped correctly. And like I said, in order to check the gap on your spark plug, you want to purchase a spark plug gap I just had it gauge, spark plug gap gauge. So they should already come pre-gapped, but you just want to double check because sometimes you never know. Last thing you want to do is install a spark plug that's not properly gapped and you won't get the right spark. So we're going to use our spark gap gauge and just follow it here and make sure that this sucker is gapped correctly, and it looks like it's gapped correctly. It's at 0.050, and I looked at the spark plug specs on AmericanMuscle.com. I'll actually pull that up for you guys. Shows you here I got a 2014, so we're going to be down here at this bottom left box. In this generation, 2011 to 2018, right over to the right, I've got a stock modified Mustang. That means no supercharger, no turbocharger. It needs to be gapped between 0.049 and 0.053. So I'm at 0.050 on this spark plug, so this spark plug is good. It's good to go. I'm going to go ahead and check the gaps on the rest of the spark plugs, and then we'll get started installing them. But first, before I install them, I want to add my anti-seize lubricant on the threads so that the spark plugs don't seize up on you when installing and removing them in the future. So remember that the anti-seize lubricant is what you, or grease, is what you're going to put on the threads. You don't want to get it at this end, and you don't want to get it at the tip of the spark plug. Only on the threads, okay? Nothing excess, just a nice thin layer on it will get the job done. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply my grease, and I'm gonna do all 4 spark plugs on the left side. I'm gonna go ahead and grease them up and with the anti-seize lubricant first, because I don't want to get the grease everywhere. So once I go ahead and grease them all up, then I'll start installing them onto the car. Like I said, on a nice little thin layer there. You don't want to do too much. So one trip around should get the job done. Be careful not to get it on the tip of the spark plug. Boom, that's good. Like I said, just one good thin layer is all you need. ensure that the threads don't seize up on you. That's the whole goal of that. Alright, so I'm gonna do the rest of them and then we'll get started installing the spark plugs, and then we'll move over to the other side and do it again. Alright, so now that we have all of the anti-seize grease on our spark plug threads, we are going to apply the dielectric spark plug boot protector onto the other end of the spark plugs to ensure that it keeps the ignition coil boots from getting stuck on the spark plug whenever you need to remove or install them. It always comes in handy because myself have experienced a spark plug coil boot getting stuck, and it's not fun trying to get it off. The heat is what gets these things stuck over time. If you don't put the grease on there, it ends up getting stuck to the spark plug in most cases, and you got trouble getting it off. The boot gets stuck, and it's just a whole process you want to avoid. So please spend $1 and some change, maybe $2 on these. One should be enough for your spark plugs, but if you want to play it safe and get two, that's fine. I always play it safe and get two just in case I forget to go to the store. The next time I'll have it. So we'll do that. We'll install it here, and we'll also install it on the inside of the boot right there. Once we have that done, we'll be ready to install our spark plugs back into the car. Alright, so now that I got all the dielectric coil boot grease on my spark plugs, I got my anti-seize grease on my spark plugs, we are ready to install them back into the engine block. So I'll go ahead and put my spark plug in there. And when you start your spark plug, you want to hand tighten it first before you put it on the ratchet. You want to hand tighten it first. Once it's hand tight, then you can go ahead and start to tighten up the spark plug with your ratchet. Tight right there. So now that I got my spark plug hand tightened, I want to go ahead and use my torque wrench to torque it to the right spec. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and set it to 14. They said you can torque the spark plugs anywhere between 10 to 15. I'm gonna play it safe and do it at 14. So we're gonna get my notch right there at 14, and then we're going to lock it. And make sure when you're using your torque stick that you got it on the torque inch to pound and not on centimeters to kilograms. So if you're in America, make sure that you're using this side right there, okay? Play it safe. Now we're gonna go ahead and tighten up the spark plug. Alright, now that we got all our spark plugs screwed down, like I said, hand tighten first, then you go back with your torque wrench. You want it to be between 10 to 15 pounds of torque. I did 14 to play it safe. After you do that, the next step is to install your ignition coils back onto the car. Okay, now that we got our screws back on there, I'm just gonna hand tighten just to make sure it's tight enough. Just wanna make sure they're all on there secure. Alright, that'll do that. We're gonna take the fuel rail cover. Slide the fuel rail cover back on. this just snaps into place, so make sure you hear it snap before. Take my oil cap back off. Right into place. I think that's about right. Alright. So now that that's back on, put your oil cap back on. Got your oil cap back on, you can disconnect that, just push right back into place. That's that side, then we on to the other side. Alright, so now that we got our cover put back on, we'll go ahead and put our strut tower raised bar back on. Now when you put your strut tower brace bar on, make sure you torque it to 26 foot-pounds of torque. And you'll need a 13mm socket for that, just in case you guys don't know which socket to use. First I'm going to tighten it down with the ratchet, but I'm not going to make it super tight. And make sure that they're torqued to 26 foot-pounds of pressure. Like I said, make sure it's on that torque side. We want to go 26, so we're going to go up. You unlock that first. Go up to... Let's see here. 26. Yeah, we're gonna go up to 26. That should do it right there. Alright, so we got our spark plugs installed. Time to start them up and let's see what he sound like. Alright, so we are back from the test drive. Definitely noticed the slight difference in acceleration. Idle's a lot smoother. Takeoff and everything, the way it just runs is a lot smoother with the new spark plugs. Not a super drastic change, but I definitely did notice a change. More responsive as well, and it seems a little bit louder as well. But anyways, I decided to change the spark plugs because Pegasus got about 70,000 miles plus on them, and he's also about to get tuned, so why not put on fresh spark plugs? So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you have not done so already, so you stay updated on all my upcoming videos. Make sure you hit the bell right next to it as well to keep you notified on all the content I got coming up next. Thank you for watching. God bless and Godspeed, everybody.